What's up, everyone? It's me, Adam Prime, and I'm back with the Blazing Toku Moviethon. This week, as you can tell, I have no movie on the table, but a bunch of crap, because this week I watched Kamen Rider Taisen, featuring Super Sentai. Heisei Rider vs. Showa Rider, Battle to the Death. A movie that made no sense. A movie that, in my opinion, isn't that good. If you like this movie, I'm glad you enjoy it. I personally do not like this movie. I want to. It has some really cool aspect. And if you don't know what Kamen Rider Taisen is, it was for the 15th anniversary of, or 40th or something like that. No. 45th, maybe, of Heisei and everything, but the 15th Heisei Rider, so they were like, oh, what if the Showa era people and the Heisei era people fight each other, because 15-15, whatever, boo-da-boo-da-boo, and it has some really cool aspects and stuff to it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and the story kind of falls apart in a matter of seconds. It's not even that ton of fun. It's just kind of boring in aspects. The first opening bit feels like it drags a lot. And obviously I will go into spoilers later, but that's not what I want to talk about for now. This is a movie that is fairly old now. I feel like even something like Superhero Senki or Kamen Rider Beyond Generations, which I had just covered on the Moviethon, and I like that movie. I thought it was a really nice, interesting tribute and everything, with some really cool aspects. This one, it doesn't make sense why the riders are fighting. It's almost like somebody just, grabbed two action figures, and then, realized that they were Heisei and Showa riders, and was just hey, you did this thing I don't agree with. Boy, is that my fault. Well, we're fighting. I'm gonna fight you. You know what? You're pretty cool. We're best friends. Now kiss. It's nothing like that in a way, but it's just something that felt like people just messing and having their two toys fight. It didn't feel like the characters were there. They altered the Faiz lore. The Faiz story in this isn't even how the show ended. Getting into the spoiler aspect, also, there's nothing to really talk about. There are no interesting suits. Yes, we have new suits with Kamen Rider 15, which, he's cool, in, Ichigo armor, which is hilarious. It's just a boring movie. It just opens up with the riders fighting, and the more you get into it and the more reason that they're fighting, the more it just makes no sense and it's kind of dumb, and it just seems like the Showa riders who are out of touch and just kind of being old, rude assholes. It's just not a ton of fun, but it has some really cool things in it. Shin gets to move this time around. Somebody was in the suit, and you gotta see Hiroshi Fujioka come back as Takeshi Hongo for the first time. This was the first time he replayed Takeshi Hongo since the 70s. Yeah, he as an actor made cameos in Agito and stuff, but as that character, he hadn't played him since the end of that show. And that's a really cool aspect. Hell, I've covered a lot of movies that have Takeshi Hongo returning, whether it be Fujioka or his son playing him. And especially after reading the manga, I genuinely like that character now. And I like to see him come back because it's a cool aspect. But it just doesn't make any sense. And their whole reason that Heisei and Showa are arguing is because they're you're lingering on death. It's what are you talking about? Us feeling remorse? Feeling bad about who's dead? Missing people? Being human? It felt like really weird and almost off character for the Showa writers as well. And it just kept like making no sense. And then you have the double crossing because Z Cross was pretending to be somebody else. It just and then you have like the dead child plot, which, okay, cool. You have a dead kid who wants to make it up because they wronged their mother. It was almost a sincere, touching story, but then you have his dad who's just like, "No, I'm gonna bring you back to life." He's like, "But that's not what I want." And he's like, "You don't know what you want. I'm evil." And it's just like, why? And it's like, it's really kind of weird. And like, it's not until the end where he's like, "Oh, I get what my son wants. I understand now. It's all clear." It didn't make any sense to up until the end of the movie. The kid gets crucified at some point. No joke, he's in a cross. And it's just so weird because, like, they had to have this fight scene in the middle, which was just a montage of fighting so all the writers could turn into lock seeds for a plan of some sort. It felt weirdly long. Like, the movie itself dragged, and it tried to have some interesting story elements, like Faiz feeling bad because Kiksa, who is a known asshole, like, he's a character who is often just a dick. And if you've seen Faiz, you know how he dies in the show. Like, Takumi doesn't see him die. They find his picture and everything, and they're like, "Oh no," because he became sand. And he became sand in this one, but like him just kind of being an asshole, being like, "Why do I have to die when I have stuff I want to do, but your life means nothing and you get to live?" And it's like this thing that like makes Faiz turn evil halfway through the movie for 3 seconds. Like, he's just like, I'm gonna attack the other writers, both Showa and Heisei, because I want the thing to happen. And then, like, X slaps him to the ground and says, "Boy, what are you doing, bro? Get your shit together. Move on. That guy's an asshole." And then Faiz is like, "Okay," and then starts helping again. It was that quick. And it's not a bad story or anything. It just also is weird because it's like it's something they made new for this movie. Like, this isn't like a story beat from Faiz. They made this one. And then, like, I don't even know. Like, X doesn't really have a story. His story is exactly what I told you. It's just him being like, but I'm gonna fight you, Faiz, because we're the links in this movie. Fuck, even though I brought up Takeshi Hongo being in this movie, he's really only in, like, 2 or 3 scenes. And, like, the rest he's pretty much in suit or anything, so it's not like he's walking around and like, having, like, groups of dialogue with Gaim or something. Hell, like, a lot of Gaim's writers are barely there. I think, like, Michi and, Takatora are only in, like, 2 scenes just for montage fighting. Baron just shows up, helps find a turtle, gets wet, and then leaves, and then is just like, "I'm fighting you now, Black and Black RX." This movie just felt just like, we just want to show all these suits fighting. It felt like somebody just being like, I got a hold of the costume department, and I get to tell everyone what I want to do, so I'm just gonna throw these suits and just do all these fight scenes. Not to say they're not good, they're interesting, but it didn't feel like anything. It didn't feel interesting. It didn't feel like I was like, "Whoa!" It just felt like, okay, now that group of suits are fighting. Okay, that one did his move, and now that one's a lock seed, but now another Showa writer shows up, does his move, and now he's a lock seed, and it just goes back and forth, until they're all done, and then all of a sudden they stop the final movie plot, and then they're just like, "Alright, guys, we just settled this story. We stopped the villain, but we still have beef. We're settling this shit now." Like, this is a movie I don't know how to recommend either. Where it's like, if this sounds interesting to you, it's like, I guess give it a watch, but I don't know, man. It's like, for me personally, it just doesn't do anything for me. It has 2 endings. 2. One for Heisei and one for Showa. And it's just pretty much, who do you want to win? Who are you agreeing with? Could you imagine if they did that for Civil War or something, for Captain America Civil War? That'd be really weird. And, hell, like, the endings weirdly make no sense. Like, I get the sentiment where it's like, oh, Gaim, for the Heisei ending, it's Gaim protecting a flower and Ichigo being like, you care about life so much. I see what you're talking about now. And it felt almost like the ending it should have, and it's just, I get it. I get what your resolve is in your kindness. You won. I lost the battle. Because you care about life. But then the Showa ending is literally just Gaim just being like, alright, time to murder you. And then like Ichigo just being like, I'm ready. I could do this all day. And then like Gaim's just like, I lost. And then Narataki shows up and says, what the fuck you do to Decade? And Decade's like, you know what I do. Like, Decade just was weird this movie with his giant parfait. Like, I can't bring myself to enjoy this movie. Like, Gaim barely felt like a character. Super Sentai was just thrown in there. Like, Daigo from Kyoryu Red, just shows up in the movie because they're just like, oh, great, we need a mecha. And then, like, Galbatira shows up. And then, like, the Tokyujers just randomly show up. And then Den-O shows up, and they all form, like, a new, like, Kyoryuger. I think it was, like, Brave Ore Tokyuo or something like that. Where it's, like, I like how the Denliner just became shoes for Tokyuo. It's just, I don't know, this movie weirdly feels hollow to me. Like, there's no fun, no ambition. And if this does it for you and you can feel that ambition, good for you. But for me, it's just not a fun time. And I knew this movie was going to have to come in some of these movies. Because, you know, you watch 12-ish movies a year in this format, you're going to get a stinker. So let's hope this is the low point. It's only going to go up from here. But, you know, what do you do after you, like, both do Ninja Turtles, which is a classic, and Godzilla vs. Mothra, which is another classic. And then Beyond Generations and Superior 8 Ultra Brothers were fun. But that's all I can say, man. That's all I really have to say. So, let's hope we get a better movie next week. But if you enjoy this movie, tell me what you like about it. Like, I want to hear it. I honestly do. I like to see the other side of the fence. I like to see what people enjoy about things I don't like particularly, because it gives me a view on it. It gives me something else to look for that somebody else is seeing that I can't, because I can only see from my perspective. So leave your thoughts down in the comments. Maybe you can change my mind or help me look at this more positively instead of me being like, this feels like a hollow husk of a thing that just was done for no reason outside of just, we have a bunch of actors who want to come back, so let's do a movie. But they're barely characters. Yeah. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to come back next week. We are nearing the end. And, take it away, Bellarock!
Coming soon.
Next week's movie is Ultraman Ginga S, the movie. Showdown. The 10 Ultra Warriors. Bye.